I'm very excited to be co-hosting this event with City of Seattle Human Resources and our community partners, Jewish Family Services and Highline College Welcome Back Center. So our plan for today is to provide kind of an overview of employment at the City of Seattle, kind of specifically talking about engineering internship opportunities, talking about the process, so the application process, tips for job seekers, tips on interviews, and then we will hear from our big 3 departments that hire lots of engineers and have internship opportunities: Seattle Department of Transportation, Seattle City Light, and Seattle Public Utility. And then I think our overall goal really is to introduce the city to you, a wonderful group of internationally trained and educated engineers, and to hopefully work our way to finding opportunities to utilizing your skills and talents. So I think with that, oh, and I should say we are going to be recording this event today, and it will be available. So Paige, who I'm going to introduce next, will be sending, or will provide a link to the recording if any of you want to watch or listen to this again. So with that, Paige, take it away.
Thanks, Lynn. My name is Paige Vogel. I work at Jewish Family Service. You all received those little reminder emails from me for this event. I work on the Clever contract with TRAC Associates in the Welcome Back Center, and we're so excited that City of Seattle is helping us make you all competitive candidates for their City of Seattle internships in their different engineering departments. And I'm very excited to share that they have also offered for those who are interested after this workshop to receive resume feedback from them. So if after this workshop you are interested in applying for an internship, please send me a copy of your resume and I will send it on to City of Seattle, and they will provide you direct feedback with how to improve your resume and better showcase the skills that you all will be bringing to the internships. If you have any questions throughout the workshop, if you put them in the chat, I can share them with the presenters. I will be keeping track of the questions in the chat, so feel free to put any questions that you have in there. With that, I will pass it off to Fernando. Thank you all for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fernando Ramirez. I'm a part of the Welcome Back Center. This is a project that has been going in preparation for a long time. We are very, very happy to have you all here. Any questions, use the chat. And if you have any question that you feel that has a general interest, please, you can raise your hand and the presenters will accommodate that. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
So I think it comes to me next. Hi, I'm Sandra Wong. I'm with the City of Seattle, and I represent kind of the overall city picture here, working in Seattle Human Resources. I'm going to ask our department intern coordinators also to introduce themselves at this point, and start off with Dat from Seattle Public Utilities.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Sandra said, my name is Dat Nguyen. I work in human resources at Seattle Public Utilities. In addition to other HR functions that I'm responsible for, I also manage our internship program. Yeah, we're excited. I'm excited to have a chance to kind of share with you down at some point later today opportunities that we may have at Seattle Public Utilities, especially for engineering. So thanks for having us, and looking forward to this afternoon's session.
Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Lindsay Ohab, and I'm the internship coordinator with Seattle City Light. And so I manage our full internship program, talking with prospective candidates like you all the way to managing our summer program. And I'm just really thankful to be here. I've gotten to work with students a lot during my career, but now I'm really happy to be on the city side, helping to show candidates like yourself what kind of great jobs we've got with the city. So thanks for having me.
Matthew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew An. I'm a Senior Talent Acquisition Partner for Department of Transportation, where we have roughly around 300 civil engineers in the department, and I'm really thankful that I'm here, and I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Stephanie.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephanie Thornton, and I am a program coordinator with the Seattle Department of Human Resources in the Workforce Development Unit. And I work with Sandra Wong on our internship programs for the city. So I am happy to be here and happy to share my information with you.
Thank you. So, like Lynn was saying earlier, what we'll be doing in our time together this afternoon is going through kind of an overview of the City of Seattle employment, who we hire, how many interns we hire, what we tend to look for, and then we'll kind of dive into a tips and tricks session for students, job seekers, in particular going through how to search for internships that will benefit you best. How do you work your application for the City of Seattle internships? And finally, tips for interviewing as well. And then again, we'll have open time at the end of all that where you could ask your questions. But again, I encourage you to ask questions, that this is not intended to be a lecture, but instead very interactive and be able to address your concerns and your ideas and questions along the way. So with that, I encourage you to use the chat to type in any questions, or go off mute and ask your questions of us, or save it towards the end. Multiple ways that we could get to your particular questions. To help us maneuver through today's session also, you may have also received a packet from us that goes through some of the written information that we'll be going through together, and can serve kind of as a reference that you could look at later for the information that we cover. Any questions before I get started and sharing my screen here? Okay. You could see my screen, correct? It says manage a city at the top. Thank you. Feedback helps. Thank you. Okay, so first off, again, I want to join the club and just welcome you to today's event. We are very excited to be invited, let alone meet you as a part of our target audience of who we're trying to recruit for in particular, our City of Seattle engineering internships. The city as a whole is a huge organization. There are 13,000 employees that the city has that come in under over 1,000 different working titles, who work for over 30 city departments. We all tend to work together to make the city work on a day-to-day basis. City is looking for people who have passion and talents for public service. So we tend to hire a lot of engineers, a lot of information technology professionals, police officers, lifeguards, skilled trades, etc. The list goes on and on. There's a variety of skills and talents that we are looking for in general. For the City of Seattle, on an average, we hire about 250 college interns annually. Okay, again, all different disciplines, not just engineering internships, but a variety of opportunities available to our local college students. So in terms of eligibility of who could apply to our college interns, we ask just a few requirements here. Number one, that you are currently a college intern that is enrolled in a course. Could be part-time, could be full-time, just as long as you're enrolled in an accredited school taking at least one class. Could be ESL or AutoCAD or any other class. Must be a resident and otherwise have U.S. work authorization. And if you get a higher offer for the onboarding for the I-9 form, we'll need at least 2 pieces of identification to verify that you're okay to work here in the U.S. with us for this internship. Typically, that's a driver's license, social security card, passport, something like that to get us through. Questions about the eligibility? Let me just pause it there.
Is it, sorry, is it just for the current student in college, or for example, I have a certificate degree for drafting. Am I eligible to apply for this?
Are you a current student? Are you taking classes?
Not now, but I got my certificate on last summer.
Okay, so we could do a few things for you. Number one is for you, I'd recommend that you take a class. If you get the internship offer, I'm going to ask you to take a class. You need to be an active student at the time of the internship. And my understanding with the college is they may open up some engineering classes so that you could enroll for that to be eligible for the internship.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And my understanding. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, you have another question from MQ Pacha, who has his hand up.
Good afternoon to all. My question that I am engineer. I graduated in 2003 and have more than 15 years of work experience. So of course I don't have a job, especially in my field, and I'm currently live in Sacramento. So is this program covered for us, or this is just for those who are newly graduated or undergraduated?
So age is not a criteria for being eligible for an internship. However, you just said you're living in California now?
Yes, of course, yeah. But I'm looking to find a job in my field, in my profession, because I have 15 years of work experience in Afghanistan, and unfortunately, I don't have a job here in California.
Mm-hmm.
So everywhere of the US, I'm looking just to improve my skill and also exchange my knowledge.
Sure, sure. So a few things. Number one, to make it easier for everyone, it would be easier if you were in this Seattle area. In case we get called into the office, that you're available, and California is a long commute. So we would want you closer. We would want you enrolled in, again, a college class at a minimum to be eligible for this internship. Also, I think you mentioned that you have a degree from another country, Afghanistan, is that right?
Yes, of course. 5 years civil engineering.
Yeah. So what we could do for you, we'll work with the college here. I think they had in the poster here that there was some willingness. You must have a willingness to get your degree evaluated by the college to see how that could translate into this eligibility for us as well. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. Was there another question? Hand up.
Yes, I have a question. Can I?
Please.
Okay, so I have been working with TRAC Associates with Jeannie and Luli. So they have evaluated, I think back in 2017, I talked with Ramirez also. I saw him earlier speaking. So my background is in mechanical engineering from Ethiopia.
Mhm.
I have evaluated my credentials through NCES. So my and then I have sat for IT exam. I took FE exam, so I'm certified in state of Washington.
Oh,
On
nice.
top of that, last year I have got a certificate from the University of Washington in
Smoking permitted in designated areas only. Please refrain from smoking while
so like a software developer.
Mhm.
So I have these credentials. So I was just wondering whether I am on the right spot or not.
So it sounds like you have a lot of credentials already. Are you currently a student somewhere?
I keep taking some online classes, so but in the University of Washington for the boot camp, I have graduated last May, so
Okay.
that was the closest, but I'm taking another online class, if that helps.
Yes, that helps. So it sounds like to me that you are eligible to apply. And let me be clear that I believe probably that you're all able to apply for our internships with the City of Seattle, but to be even more specific, that if you want to get an engineering internship with the City of Seattle, I will need you to be a current student taking an engineering class in order to get that internship. That would be our ideal. We have other types of internships that are open and available for, wow, sorry, for applications as an undergraduate undergraduate. That, again, I'll need you to be enrolled in a college, but it doesn't need to be an engineering class. It could be any open-ended class with the Highline School.
Sandra, this is Dat. One thing I guess I want to add maybe to what I think Yared mentioned, and maybe mainly for clarification. I don't know for Seattle City Light and Department of Transportation, but I thought I heard from Yared that he has a lot of sort of IT type, quote unquote, engineering experience. And I don't know if necessarily all the right departments are here for today, because I know that for some of what my guess would be for some of the departments like Seattle Public Utilities and Department of Transportation, we are more looking at civil engineer type, those type of engineers more so than the IT. So, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I think from your that he had some IT background, and so some of the things I think that we talk about with regards to internship obviously would still be applicable, but there may not be as many opportunities, because the department that would more likely be hiring IT interns would be our Seattle Department of Information Technology. So I just wanted, I think, to add that part in there.
No. I have additional, like my background. I graduated in mechanical engineer, and then for that I have EIT certificate. I have the software development starting from last year. I'm just trying to explain what I have, but my background is in mechanical engineering.
Great, thanks for the clarification, Rich. I apologize for the misunderstanding.
You're welcome.
Sandra, we have additional questions in the chat box, but I also just wanted to encourage the really specific situational questions. If those could wait until the question and answer section, I think that would be great to be sure that we get through all of our presenters. One of the questions in the chat box is, when do the internships start?
Yeah, great question. So right now we're looking primarily for most of our internships to start in the May, June, July timeframe here. The thing with our internships is that they are all individual internships typically. So on the job posting, and we'll walk through a job posting together a little bit later in this same presentation, it will say typically the start and the intended end date as well. Each, again, opportunity is unique, so there's no one answer of when one starts and when one ends. It's written right there on the job posting. But right now we're typically, again, hiring for the summer quarter. Are there any other questions, Paige, in the chat?
Yes, the last one, which I think you just answered, was for how long will it be? So that seems like that varies position to position, but is stated on the position description. And then the last question is, do they have to be grad students or undergraduate students?
Great question again. So again, each opportunity is unique, and it typically says on there what the hiring manager, what the hiring department is looking for in terms of undergraduate or graduate. So that being said, typically that language on the posting says preferred hiring a undergraduate as an example. But if you are a graduate and that looks like a great opportunity for you, my advice to you is to still apply, because the key word in that sentence is preferred. It's not a definitive, this is it and only it. As potential interns, I want you to look at what the opportunities are for City of Seattle and apply to anything and everything that looks interesting to you, okay? The internship program is typically, we're a little bit more loose, and you'll see different languages like we prefer this, preferably that type of thing. And that's cues to say, we're trying to help the applicants kind of figure out if this is good fit for them or not, but it's not a written rule that it's the only thing that we'll accept. So you, as a candidate, considering your future career and jobs, you should apply, would be my advice. Do other City of Seattle people want to join in on that?
No, I think what you're saying is right. I mean, there are internship postings that are up throughout the year. And with summer being our biggest push in terms of the postings that you'll see out there. And when you read the job posting, if something is of interest to you and it aligns with your area of study, then you should apply for multiple positions, because it is a competitive process. So you are competing with other interns as well, or people who want to intern with the city. So yeah, it's just apply for as many as you think you qualify for.
And a lot of students don't want to apply for a whole lot of internships, thinking that it would look bad on them if they did so. And it's like, no, you apply anywhere and everywhere where you find some alignment in that particular opportunity. It does not reflect bad on you to have multiple applications out there at the same time.
And Sandra, this is Lynn. Can I jump in for a sec?
Please.
And I'm sorry, I got booted off, so I might have missed when you said this, but when I re-entered, I saw this slide, and I'm hearing these questions about being a student. And I just want to assure people that we do understand that most of you have, you're no longer undergrads, right? The reason that we're having this special session, really, that we've organized with Jewish Family Services and the Welcome Back Center is we recognize that you bring years of experience and education from another country, but now you're here and we want to figure out ways to utilize your skills. I think the catch is that with the city, you do need to be enrolled in a class. And so that is why we have this partnership with Highline College Welcome Back Center if you're not currently enrolled, they can enroll you in a class to meet that requirement. Does that make sense? And maybe we can talk about that more when Linda Farron joins the call at the end.
Thank you. Key point. Okay, any other questions about eligibility at this point?
One one question about how can I apply, which we will get to shortly. So I'm going to hold on that if that's all right with the person who asked the question. And then another question about if I was enrolled in an online course such as Coursera, will that help for eligibility?
Have any question?
I'm unfamiliar with Coursera. Is that an accredited college? I understand it's
Coursera-
online, but is it accredited?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Coursera has classes online from universities that they make accessible for people, but I don't believe it's accredited.
Okay, then we need to have another class that you are in then from an accredited school.
Let me check with this is Jeannie with WorkSource TRAC Associates. Let me check with Washington State, because to my understanding, their certifications do count and they even have master's program. So let me check with Washington State and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
If I may, I would like to add, regarding the education, Highland College will offer a class that might be useful for most of you. We are going to offer an AutoCAD and Revit for engineers coming in a few months. So that's the way that the Welcome Back Center and Highland will accommodate this need, because the concept of internship is precisely that. You have to be still a student. So we are trying to accommodate this requirement in order to keep you up to date in the latest in AutoCAD, and at the same time cover this eligibility. And yes, Coursera offers classes that are fully certified. My suggestion is, so we can move on, assume that counts. This is uncharted territory for everybody. Classes are now online everywhere. So push, go forward, apply, and it will create questions within the City of Seattle, different divisions, and they have to take a decision about it. But yeah, now everything is online. So let's move on and let's get the content, because the juice, the information is coming. So let's move on.
Got it. Thank you. So moving on then off of eligibility is why consider being an intern with the City of Seattle? Why are we here? Why should you consider applying? We tend to have great pay for our interns. We have, in terms of benefits, we offer free ORCA cards and flexible working hours. Again, in the summertime is what we're pushing for hiring right now. Typically those students, those interns work during the summertime 40 hours a week. When you're in school, typically it's about 20 hours a week that we want to set that up for. So, okay. So let's move on to the tips for job seekers, and covering the application is Stephanie.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. So this slide, we're talking about tips for job seekers. And I think you're on, can you go up one slide, Sandra? I think you're not on the slide for me. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's my slide, this is the job search. So basically, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the job search. The first bullet says, when you think about what you enjoy and your current skills, your skills are the foundation for your career path. So what I wanted to ask you is, what tools are you using to support your career development? We have some great tools out there for you if you haven't used them already, and they're networking and conducting informational interviews. And I'm not sure how many people know about informational interviews. I know I had to learn about what that meant, and how many know about what networking is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And again, to say that networking and conducting informational interviews are just data collection tools. And these tools are used to collect data to help support your career growth. So networking, if you're familiar with it, or if you're not, this will be for those who are familiar, it'll be a refresher. And for those who are not, this is new. Networking is just identifying and aligning yourself with other professionals and exchanging professional and industry information. So it's a form of learning. And you can find professional organizations on platforms such as LinkedIn, which is very popular. And this is where you make your professional connections. This is like a global bulletin board out there for your business card, in other words, your profile. And once you've made those connections, then you might want to start conducting informational interviews. And informational interviews are just what they sound like. You're just collecting information on opportunities for you to learn from people who work in the area that you're interested in. So you identify people, probably again through LinkedIn, and you contact them for like a 20 or 30-minute meeting, and then you have your questions ready. And basically you're just asking them how they prepared for their career, their education, what challenges they face, their typical day, what that's like, what suggestions that they can offer you. So it's just collecting information. It's not a job interview, and I can't emphasize that enough. Informational interviews are not a job interview, but you should be and treat it as a professional meeting. And I'm going to put a few links in our in the chat. And there are a couple of YouTube videos that I found that I think you might find interesting. They're only 2 to 3 minutes. And they just kind of show you, they model what an informational interview looks like. This is very common for people to do. I had to learn how to do this. I didn't know how to do this, but I learned how to do it. And they can be very helpful for you. And this is how you're making connections. And when you're talking to someone who you're meeting with, you also ask them if they can, introduce you to someone else who you can continue the conversation with. And again, that's how you're building your network, because that's so important. And also, informational interviews are a way for you to identify if you have a skills or an education gap that you can work on to make you more competitive. And I want to throw out, there's another platform out there you may have heard of. It's called Glassdoor.com. And Glassdoor.com is a place where you can get a sense of a company's work culture, because employees, either current or former employees, will leave comments about that work culture. So you can see what the company says about itself and what people who have worked there or currently work there say about what it's like to work for that company. So that's a very large platform. You might also want to check that out. And I also want to say, before we go on, and I hope this is okay, Sandra, before we go on to the next slide, we were going to share and look at the internship site, the employment positions that are open right now. Is that okay to do that?
Do you want to take over and do that, Stephanie?
Yeah, I just need to share my screen, because I'm sure if you haven't gone there, I'm sure you'll probably want to check that out fairly soon. We have a lot of postings up. So the first place where you would go, and I just am on, I'm on the internet, so I would just go to seattle.gov. You see up here. Can you all see my screen? I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So you go to seattle.gov and you just scroll down, and there should be city employment. There it is, city employment. Click on that. And then we will scroll down some more. And here we see find a city internship. So we go to this page here. And this also covers the information that Sandra has covered about the qualifications, what the program's about, the goals of the program, the types of internships we have, and eligibility, how to apply, and the timing. Down here is when you can see when you'll probably see internships being posted, even though there should be some up throughout the year, but not as many as you'll see that are posted right now. So in terms of where the jobs are actually located, it's right here on this link right here. So you click on this link, and here we are. We're on the internship site now, and it'll say intern in the job posting. So you scroll down, and I'm going to just show you really quick. There is an intern posting here that I'm sure one of our presenters, Lindsay from SCL City Light, will probably go through as well. But this is one of our engineering intern positions that's open right now. There's a few. This particular position, and again, they're going to go through a little bit later on in the presentation, but this one internship actually has 13 openings. So you can kind of see what they're looking for. So just a quick look, because there's other folks who are going to be reviewing this as well. But I just want to give you an idea of what it looks like. And then you just apply, you hit the apply button like that, and you just create a very quick account. And then it takes you to where you would then actually fill out your application. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that. That's our internship page. It has all of our internships on it, and get used to looking at it.
Stephanie, can you call up that engineering one again? And then Lindsay, did you want to use that as your example to talk about the job posting? And
Yeah, that works great.
Sure,
Cool.
let me go back.
thank you.
Okay, so there it is. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Stephanie, and since you've got control, I might just ask you to scroll down as I go through each
Oh,
section. That's okay. No,
certainly.
not yet. I think I'll just go in order, section by section. So, well, I'm so glad we've got this kind of a sample internship to show you right now that's up on the website. So we can walk through some different elements of the job description itself and talk about what's important, things that stand out as you're reading the job description for the first time, and then also starting to think about applying. So I know I can't say this enough. I know it seems pretty obvious, but the first thing is just to read the position really carefully, really get a feel for what the type of internship is. A lot of important details are going to come up as you read through, not only about the organization and the goals of the role, but also, looking at the materials that are required, how long it might take you. So if you're getting close to a deadline, you kind of want to have a feel for what the whole job description says, so you can be prepared to get all your materials in by the time that deadline approaches. So I think the first thing is just read through the application or the position description a couple times and really just get a firm understanding for what type of role you're looking at and what your process is going to be like for applying. In this first section at the top, right under where it says engineering intern, it's got some great information about the salary range that will depend on a student's training and education so far. Also, the closing date's really important for most of our internships right now with Seattle City Light. It's March 9th. So even though I mean, you have plenty of time to apply, but just note that that's a firm deadline. And so the portal will close once that date hits. And so just a reminder that you want to get those applications in on time, and each application will have that close date, luckily. Okay, moving down to the position description. This is going to also offer a lot of great information about the organization, the department, and the different responsibilities that are going to come with that particular internship. Again, read it a couple times, just get a feel for the type of organization and the type of internship this is going to be. So for instance, this particular job explains a little bit about City Light, so you can understand what our department does, kind of the goals of what we do within our programs, and also the organizational culture. This part of the description also shows the types of engineers the department is looking for, or the types of educational backgrounds the department is looking for. So on this one, you can see this posting is calling out to mechanical, structural, and electrical engineers. And there are numerous roles being posted, or being hired for. So all of that information is included in this piece. Also, as I know Sandra mentioned before, that each internship might last for a different amount of time. So that's included here pretty early. And then how long the internship lasts is also included a little bit later. So I'll cover that again. So just this basic information really early on in the position description gives you a great overview that's going to help you understand the job descriptions as you read further, and kind of help you start to think about the types of materials you want to include. So then the next description, or the next section, is job responsibilities. This is where you'll actually see the activities that are going to take place in the internship. So as you read through this section, you should really be thinking about how all of those areas are similar to the experience you already have. So maybe just take some notes if you're seeing words that pop up or skills that pop up that you know that you can do, because you're going to want to relate those skills to your own experience as you develop your materials for this application. So if you do have experience in any of the areas that you're reading within the job description, make sure you really highlight that, make sure it's really clear within your application. Just be as clear as possible that you share some of the different responsibilities that are within the job description, and make sure to give examples. That's really important. So this is just one example for this particular job description, but in this description, one of the bullets says construction management is one of the job responsibilities. So if you have done construction management at some point in your career, this is something you really want to highlight within your application materials. not only saying you've done it, but also provide just really strong examples so that we can see the types of projects that you've done or a certain assignment that you've had. Just make it as clear as possible. I think the job responsibilities are also really important because it helps give you an idea of ways that you can show why you're interested in the job. I think something that's just really important is that you explain why you're interested, not just about why you have the skills or the experience, but what's your interest? Managers want to see that there are things that you're excited to learn. There are things that are going to help you grow in your career. And those are the things that are going to help you contribute great work to your internship. So just make sure to talk about your interest and why that's going to help you if you were to get this internship. So another example is in the last bullet of this job responsibility section. Just lost my spot. There's something that says exposure to project engineering and management. So if this really interests you, if this is a skill that you want to learn about more or grow more, make sure to talk about that in your description. Make it feel pretty personal and thoughtful about why this topic really matters to you. So use the job responsibility section of the application to talk not only about why you've got the skills and the experience, but also why you're interested in that internship. Okay, moving on to the qualification section. This is where you're going to see the key requirements about if you're eligible. So any education, certifications, trainings, things like that. That's usually pretty straightforward. I think what we're saying, is just apply, and we'll a lot of you've got those qualifications already, and so it's more just a matter about highlighting why you've got those qualifications within your application. So one way to do that is to look at the desired qualifications. These are just things that the manager prefers you know about. So it's great that if you meet one of those desired qualifications that you put it really clearly in your application. So as an example, in this particular job description, you've got the desired qualification for AutoCAD. So if you have experience with that skill, just make sure it's really clear in your application somewhere, whether it's your resume or within your cover letter, that you meet that extra qualification. And then finally, in the last section, you're going to see the specific requirements needed to complete the application. For this particular job, it's your cover letter, your unofficial transcripts, and your resume. And then some documentation that Sandra had mentioned might be required at a later point in the internship process for work authorization and all that. Unless, Sandra, is that required at the time of application?
No.
No, okay. So just really focus on the things that are required in that job application. Usually it's just those 3 items, but make sure that they're all there, because if they're not complete, that's not going to help your application much. So just make sure you have all of those components that the application is asking for, so that the managers can see that you're meeting all of the requirements for that particular role, and that they don't have any questions about, if you meet those qualifications. And I think that's it. I mean, usually the description will include all of the information you need about when it starts and when it ends, the preferred education and skills, and then also their application requirements. So they're usually pretty clear with all those different bullets checked off the list. So do any of the other departments have any additional information about their job descriptions that weren't necessarily covered in this?
No, one of the things that I just wanted to add, I think echo to what Lindsay said, is, of the times that I review applications, I think what's really important is, I can't stress enough, attaching the documents or following the instructions of what we asked for. Stephanie, if you could put back the announcement, because I want to look at the one, where it stressed the unofficial transcript, and and the reason why we need these documents, right, is that we have to validate that you're eligible for the internship. And unfortunately, sometimes if there's a lot of interest in an internship, I myself will disqualify a candidate because I may not have the bandwidth to reach out to the candidate again and say, hey, we need this, but you forgot to submit this. So I can't stress enough. I would say for Seattle Public Utilities, I would say probably anywhere from 25% to 30% of applications for internships that we receive at our department, I disqualify because of basically failure on the candidate's part to attach the necessary documents that we've asked for. And so I just wanted to echo kind of what Lindsay was saying, and can't stress enough that please follow the instructions on when we ask for you to submit however many documents. Make sure you just submit those, because we do review those, especially like the transcript, for eligibility. And sometimes with a lot of interest, we just don't have the bandwidth to reach out to everyone and say, hey, you forgot to provide us X, Y, and Z. So that was the only thing I wanted to add. But yeah, I think our internship posting very similar to what Seattle Satellite has, which is it always, as Sandra even talked about earlier, is that it has pretty much all the information that this specific one has. And so I think there's just a lot of great information that's in that posting, more so than just the title and what the pay rate is. I think there's a lot of, as Lindsay already highlighted, there's a lot of useful information.
So, and I also add on to that, thanks, Dat, is that many of you have said before that you have certifications or degrees from out of the country, or maybe even here as well. So you see what's required in terms of what's being asked for in terms of documentation, but you could also attach those other certifications and transcripts as well, just to show that you have the previous education potentially and training to do that particular thing that's in alignment with that internship posting.
And if I can add something to what Sandra just said, this applies to every job posting, not just the internship. When you write a resume, try to modify it to target specifics within the job posting. Don't just copy and paste every resume when you apply for like different jobs. Make sure you customize them and make them really unique for the one job posting that you're applying for.
And I would also say that for the cover letter as well, to make sure you make that specific to the job you're applying for. Okay. So I'm going to just move on and finish. I have one more bullet I want to talk about, which the last one was the job interest card. That's something that's like an alert that you can get, and you will find that in the upper left-hand corner of the menu. And it's on the regular city employment site and also on the internship site. And this is under job categories. So this is a way for you to get an alert when a new internship is posted. You can get an alert in your email inbox. And it is under internships. You can check off internships. And I think it also was under student employment. If that's what you're interested in, you can check off any of these boxes where you have an interest. But this is where you can just, as soon as something's posted, it'll come into your inbox, and then that alerts you to then take a look and see if you're interested. And you would just go up and finish it with, I believe it's my subscription, email, or subscribe. There's just a way, if you don't have an account. But anyway, this is where you go to set up those alerts. They're like a Google alert, I call it, but that's our alert. So that's all I have for my job search tips. So I'm going to send this over, and I'll stop sharing, and I'll send this back over to Sandra.
Thank you.
Sandra, could I jump in? We have a question. Isra, do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah, I have a few questions. So one of my question was like people like me graduated back home. So our school system was like an old school system. It was very hard in our school to make a good GPA. So I studied here as well. My GPA here and back home, that's totally different because there was like an old school system. And my university was not good to give good marks to the students. So if the requirement is 3-point GPA, so I think most of the students they graduated back home, I don't think they're going to be eligible. If the requirement is 3, my GPA here, I study in Renton Technical College, and that's my last quarter. My GPA is 3.8. It's a good GPA. But back home it was old system, so it was not easy to make a good GPA there. So it's just one thing to mention. And my other question was today I was trying to apply for this job, and I make an account. So there's different sections where did you work, where was the location, your manager, the company you work with, their website. So all these information back home, my supervisor contact number, information. So they're all back home. So if you ask for a reference, there was a space for reference. So they're like, who's going to be a good reference for you? Like, who should we provide? Like, the people we work with, like they're back home, or the people we know here. So these are something like I want to understand, and like what's your idea, and what's like a good answer for it.
So thanks, great questions. So your point one about the hard to get a good GPA in the out-of-country school. Did you graduate from that school?
Yeah, I have a civil engineer degree from back home, and
that's all we care about is that you graduated. Typically,
yeah.
we won't ask you for your GPA for that degree. The point is you finished it successfully. Yeah. So you could let that one go. Your second question about what references you put down on your application, and only some of our internships will ask you for references along with the application packet. It won't be for every internship that we ask for that. So look at what you're applying to, and even if it asks for it, because we will need your permission if we made contact with that person anyway before that's done. Okay, and you get to pick who that reference is. It could be a current college professor. It could be a team peer. You know, it doesn't need to be from your professional experience or educational experience from your previous degree. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I see hands up.
I'm not seeing any other questions at this time or any hands.
Oh, I see Nuha, hands up.
Oh.
Hi, my name is Nuha. I'm architect engineer. I got a certificate last June in architect engineering design. My first question that I hear of one of you that the city of Seattle can enroll as in a specific class. Is that true? I'm not sure from this point. To be eligible to this internship.
And I'm sorry, say again, needs to be eligible for internship. What's the question?
Internship. I hear from one of you that the city of
Oh, you're
on mute.
You're mute.
Yeah, the sound.
I think this is Lynn. I think I can jump in because I think I might have said that. I think it's not the city of Seattle that can enroll you in a class. It's Highline Community College. Part of the reason we reached out to the Welcome Back Center at Highline College was for that specific reason. Is because we know some of the requirements around our internships is that you need to be a student. And so Highline can enroll you in a class of some sort, many options, to make you eligible for this opportunity.
Oh, okay, thank you. I have another question, please. Is there any opportunity for architect engineer to join this internships?
So the only thing I would say to that, are you talking about for the city of Seattle internships particularly?
Yeah.
So you have to really just go onto the website and look at what they're asking for. Okay. I'm not sure like specifically for architectural work. There may be occasions for historic preservation. I think there's one out there right now that has that job title in it, which might have an architectural component to it. But a specific architectural degree, I haven't really seen that.
Okay. I just asked because I have experience for more than 10 years in permit section in Dubai municipality. So I don't know, maybe is that help or not? I will try to submit. I'm looking for that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to move on to the next portion of tips for job seekers and just quickly cover interviewing tips. That number one is you want to take a look at that internship posting and anticipate questions based off of that posting. You know, typically in any job interview, you'll get the first question of tell me about yourself. So be prepared for that question, be ready with your answer. Based off of what they're looking for in terms of job responsibilities or tasks or desired or minimum qualifications, all of those stand to be potential interview questions that you should get ready for and be ready to answer in that interview. And what we're looking for in the interview panel is tell us the story of where you successfully used that particular competency, either in school, either professionally, that highlights your success in doing that particular skill or competency. Tell us a story about it. Expand on what was the situation that you were in when you used that skill. What was the task that you had in hand? What was the action you took? And what was the business result of you doing that task in that situation? At the end of interviews also, the panel will typically also ask you at the very end, that's the end of our line of questions. Do you have any questions for us? You should have a question, at least one question ready to go for that interview team back. To us, that shows that you're thinking and you are inquisitive and curious and you want to learn more. If, for example, you said, thank you for your time, no other questions from me, you're missing an opportunity to learn more about that particular internship and that organization. So use that opportunity, use up every minute of that interview time and ask the employer that panel questions. And most importantly is practice. Do mock interviews before you walk into the real interview. It really shows in your presentation and your communication skills kind of to have that pre-practice before that event. Okay.
Can I just say one thing, Sandra?
Please.
The city has panel interviews, so just be aware that you'll be going into an interview with at least 3 people on a panel. It's not like the private sector where you kind of don't know. It could be one-on-one, it could be all day. We do panel interviews here.
Great point. Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so that kind of rounds out our tips and tricks that we have up our sleeves to share with you about the city. Now we're going to kind of turn the tides here and we're going to focus on the 3 departments that tend to hire engineering interns. So we're going to start off with Seattle Public Utilities and Nguyen.
Thanks, Sandra. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Nguyen. I work in human resources at Seattle Public Utilities, and one of my core functions is to manage the internship program, and that includes posting internships, reviewing applications, so on and so forth. And one of the things before and I know we had talked like as a group the other day when we were planning for this, we had talked about each of us having so many minutes, but I'm sure there are a lot of questions that folks have, and so I'm to a certain extent going to sort of cut my presentation a little bit short because I could talk all day about the great department that I work at, and I'm sure Lindsay and Matthew could also talk all day about the great departments that they work at. But one of the things I just want to add to I think what Stephanie mentioned about with panel interview is also keep in mind that nowadays, because of obviously the pandemic, most departments, if not all, are probably doing virtual interviews. And so I think one of the things that I would strongly encourage is, before, if you have an interview, just make sure like all of the technology are working, right? That's going to be the important part because departments, sometimes will have back-to-back interviews, and it's sometimes they prefer to get all of these interviews done and not have to keep rescheduling because of technology. And then secondly, from a Seattle Public Utility standpoint, because this is where you may see different departments doing different things, we actually do give our interviewees interview questions ahead of time to review and prepare. And so in addition to, I think the tip that Sandra said about practicing do a lot of research as Lindsay, presented earlier, do a lot of research about the internship and look at the posting, but knowing that for Seattle Public Utilities, we do actually give our interviewees sometimes up to 30 minutes, the interview questions ahead of time to prepare. So it's really a great opportunity. And just speaking of Seattle Public Utilities, if you live in Seattle, you're probably dealing with us. If you don't, just to let you know, we're one of, I think, as Sandra mentioned earlier, we're one of 30 departments. Kind of what we do is really provide and deliver really vital, I would say, vital from a standpoint of public health, public safety, life-sustaining services such as drinking water, solid waste, garbage removal kind of thing, and then sewer, drainage, so on and so forth. And I think for me, the thing that I take the most pride in working in our department is, I think if you just look at the drinking water piece, right? Like we know that not everywhere even in the United States, do people have access to clean drinking water. And so for kind of to know that, that I'm a part of an organization that, whether in HR, we hire folks who help deliver some of these services, that's life sustaining, and also public safety, if you will. That's important to me. Secondly, I think the other thing that we do that's tremendous as an organization is we also do a lot of outreach from a standpoint of trying to change people's behaviors, from a standpoint of, we think about conservation. Even though, really, the more you use the water, right, it increases what we can collect in revenue, but knowing that water is not a finite product, that we want people to conserve. We also want people to, we want to reduce the amount of garbage that goes into a landfill. So we're doing a lot of outreach with regards to, recycling, composting, so on and so forth. And so those are, I think, really awesome things that we do. And then just lastly, we want to do all of this in recognition of also not only making sure that the services that we provide are reliable, but it's also providing it at sort of a cost-conscious rate to our customers, right? Because the one thing, if you live in Seattle, that Seattle Public Utilities, when it comes to drinking water, for example, we're the only game in town. You can't go somewhere else and outside of buying bottled water, you can't go to another place and say, hey, I want to get drinking water. So technically, as a way, a monopoly, to a certain extent, we could probably charge what we want, and you're stuck with it. But that's not what we're about, right? As an organization, in order to make Seattle really the best place to live, we also want to deliver all of this reliably and in high quality, but also from a cost effectiveness to our customers. And so, so that's sort of my spiel, if you will, on SBU. Like I said, I could probably talk all day, but moving on to kind of the engineering internships, as you can see on the PowerPoint there, these are the various engineering-ish internship that we hire. Like Lindsay earlier talked about in one of her job in the engineering intern, there's project management, right? Our project manager, our interns help project managers with managing what we call capital improvement projects. So when you think about capital improvement projects, these are projects where some sort of physical asset, physical structure ultimately gets built. We also have we also have students who do plan reviews, who help with doing land survey. GIS, if you're unfamiliar, it's Geographic Information System. So it's looking at sort of mapping where all of our assets or pipes, our structures are located. Geotechnical. It's anytime we build things, one of the things we have to look at is the sort of the foundation of the earth, right? Is it a place that's stable for us to build this structure, whatever that may be? And then materials lab, things that we typically do in the materials lab could be, for example, looking at the strength of concrete. Right? If we're going to build something where we have to pour concrete, we need to ensure that whatever the type of concrete that we may use, does it have enough strength, flexibility, whatever the case may be, for us to build that structure on there. I would say on average, and right now, one of the things, as you saw from Stephanie going on the internship site, there are 4 pages worth of internships. I think right now, mostly at Seattle City Light, but we are, like Sandra said, we are planning for our summer internship season pretty soon here, and should be posting opportunities on the same city site that Stephanie showed you. And then the other thing that's also, I think, tremendous for a lot of departments now with internship too, is that because of the pandemic, anything that we're offering will have a telework component to it. I know earlier somebody mentioned, they're in California, and to a certain extent, I think I agree with Sandra that to a certain extent, we may allow some telework, but there may be times that we will need you know, our employees to be in the Seattle area. And so obviously I would really encourage, obviously, you know, if that was to happen to where you're able to land an internship or a position, is you may obviously strongly consider kind of moving to Seattle. But we do have, the good part right now is with the pandemic, you know, we are, you know, offering a lot of telework type opportunities. So that's another thing that I think we're kind of getting, a lot of us are getting used to in this pandemic world. But like I said, I earlier, you know, I really am excited about being here. I know there are probably a lot of questions after you hear the, you know, the rest of the departments present. So I'll just stop here and just say thanks for having us.
Great, thanks, Dat. So let's move on next to Seattle City Light. Lindsay.
Thank you. So hi again. I'm Lindsay with Seattle City Light, and we're your local electric utility that powers the Seattle area. And so we deliver electricity to over 460,000 businesses and residential customers, which is actually 900,000 people in the Seattle area. So chances are some of you probably get your bill from us each month and might recognize our name from that. But over 80% of our electricity here in town comes from hydropower. So from like our dams, rivers, and streams throughout the state. So kind of like Dat said, I mean, we really have a focus on kind of preserving the world around us. And even though we're providing service that's a utility, we want to make sure we're conserving our natural environment and paying a lot of attention to that. And so Seattle's City Light's really proud to have been carbon neutral since 2005 and does a lot in terms of making sure like fish and wildlife are protected, that we're not disrupting our cultural and historical sites. And so beyond kind of providing electricity, there's a real sentiment around kind of preserving the place we live in too. So I think that's a trend you're going to see a lot at the city of Seattle. So to do all this work, we employ engineers and backgrounds like civil, electrical, mechanical, but we also have roles in project management and construction and public administration, information management. So it really takes all types of disciplines to make our utility run. So that brings us to our internship program. And we hire usually about 40 to 50 interns total throughout the year in roles like engineering, environmental management, accounting, communications, all types of things. And I'd say about 15 to 20 of those each year are for engineers specifically. So most of our engineering internships are year-long. But a lot of our other internships that are more administrative or project management oriented are just for summer. So that's just another note that when you're looking at job descriptions, making sure you're looking really closely at whether or not you're applying for something that's a year long or just summer. All of our interns that start in the summer participate in a structured program where they get to participate in different events and networking opportunities to learn more about different parts of City Light. So some examples of events that we offer through our internship program are learning about our power stations and the hydroelectric projects, getting experience and perspective of different managers or executive level folks that want to share kind of their success in the field, getting resume and cover letter and interview best practices so that when you're done with your internship, you have those skills that are stronger to go out and look for jobs, whether it's within the city or elsewhere. And also getting to meet other interns. And even though they might be people whose fields are really different, maybe they're in marketing or communications, they have just a totally different perspective on the work that they've done in the city. And so it's really fun to get to be able to connect with other people. And then at the end of the summer, there's usually a showcase where all the interns get to present on the work that they've done and the projects that they've been doing over the summer. So throughout the summer, it's a pretty structured program where you get to engage with different people and projects within the utility. And then if the internship continues beyond the year, some of that structured programming falls off and you're just kind of focused more on your projects for your role. So all of our summer 2021 internships are posted right now. And Stephanie was kind to walk us through that website, and every internship that we have available is posted. And so they're all there and they're all going to expire March 9th. So the date's coming up, but you definitely still have a lot of time to apply. And I really encourage you to do so. There's all different types of roles posted. I think kind of thinking back to Nuha's question, like you might not see architectural engineering posted somewhere, but if you feel like you're reading the job description and you feel like you could do the things that are there in the role, you should definitely apply. So some of the different opportunities within engineering might be along the lines of construction management or kind of structural analysis of and designing of dams. It could be developing projects to support the grid and making sure the technologies are up to date so that the electricity grid is strong, or learning to design landscape and irrigation systems within the electrical substation. So you can see there's a lot of different types of opportunities within engineering itself. And so that's why I would just say provide really specific examples of your experiences and skills. So you can show the work that you've done, but also show, kind of what you'd be capable of in other types of roles. So just be really, really specific within your applications about kind of what you're interested in and the types of roles that you can do. But there's definitely a lot across many different disciplines within engineering. And then beyond that, there's also a lot of opportunities that are not necessarily just for engineers, but that have maybe more of an administrative focus. So I encourage you to look at those too, even if they're not specifically engineering, they definitely are within your, that field generally. So just a couple that I'm thinking of right now are like, there's a project management internship where an intern would review and process different construction documents for the Seattle waterfront. There's a safety intern, an environmental management engineer, an emergency management intern, and those will focus kind of more broadly on safety and security within the city, and then different internships around data management and things like that. So it's okay to think more broadly too, and not just apply to the engineering ones if there are other types of positions that you're interested in that maybe have more of an administrative or project management focus. And so just once again on the application timeline, all the applications are due for City Light at least by March 9th at 4 p.m. So make sure you get it all in before that 4 p.m. deadline. Most will require a resume, cover letter, and transcript. And so it's pretty straightforward, but just make sure to read that job description really carefully in case there's anything extra that position might want to see, just so you make sure you get all those complete documents in. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Welcome.
So next, let's move it off to SDOT.
Hello, everyone. This is Matthew from SDOT HR. I just want to share a few things about the Department of Transportation. I've been with the Department of Transportation for 5 years now. And before I came in, I only knew like 5% of what SDOT does, to be honest. It's a really great amount of work that is going in. We have over 1,000 employees in our department, and they're all working towards to provide safety and accessible mobility to residents and tourists and whoever is passing through Seattle. So for safety, we're working very diligently to make sure you can walk safely, bicycle, safely drive, and use a public transportations. And all those method of transportations are accessible to whoever is in Seattle. And that's our highest first priority goal. And a lot of people are working hard for that. And as for the sustainability, we work with Metro, King County Metro, Sound Transit. And as you've seen, a lot of improvements have going on for the sustainability. We take the environmental health very seriously. We try to minimize all the usage of like gas and carbons. We try to change a lot of our work products to electricity. And those are our second highest priority for the department. And as far as the city streets, traffic signals, sidewalks, and bridges, many of you know what happened to the West Seattle Bridge. A lot of those issues were identified through the inspections. So the fact that we caught that early was a very proud moment for our department. And the fact that we're working to repair that for the public, I'm really happy to see the work progress in our department. And as many of you just experienced, whenever there's like snow, like windstorms coming in, like winter storms, our crews are on the road 24/7 in that season to make sure everybody can still move around Seattle. and cleaning the streets, sidewalks, right-of-ways, and give people access to their homes and to wherever they need to go. We've done some great work there, and even some other major cities around Seattle has been asking for our help, and we were able to assist, like Portland, Bellevue, Renton, like other city departments as well, with our equipment and with our crews. And for our publics, many of you can just simply report any of the potholes, or like if there is any damage in like signs or traffic lights. You can just simply go to the website, SDOT website, and then just report the problem, and we send out a crew to fix that ASAP. So those are some of the great works that I've seen while working in the SDOT. For our engineer interns, I've seen a lot of engineer interns learning a lot from our department, and it's a good way to get your first step into public service, not just for the city of Seattle, but city internship is really great opportunity for you to like understand how public work is initiated and completed. It's a longer process than I could ever imagine, and a lot of our interns are happy to be here, and their feedback to our department has been tremendous, and I really like seeing a lot of interns trying to come back to SDOT and try to get a job with SDOT at the end of their internship. Our internship programs are similar to City Lights. We have a lot of engineering internships. We do have a lot of interns that are trying to get into the field, and most of them are trying to get to SDOT's projects and understand how the project works, and that'll be a great learning lessons for the interns. And we have about 50 intern opportunities per year, and those are available to you through the websites that Stephanie just showed you. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. So last, we've got time, lots of time here for questions. So if you want to go ahead and put in the chat or go unmute and ask your questions at this point.
If I may, I would like to ask a question that perhaps is in the mind of many of the participants. This question is specifically directed towards Matthew. Matthew, are there any jobs in the city of Seattle where participants can play the role of being building inspectors, street inspectors? Are there any roles that fit this description?
I believe all the interns can help our professional engineers who are doing those kind of jobs you just mentioned. I don't know if interns will be responsible or they'll be managing by themselves. Interns will still work with our employees and work on those areas.
Okay. This seems to be one set of skills that our participants bring from their home countries, and it has been a good niche for them to start working in the surrounding municipalities. So great, that's good to know. They can highlight those skills in their application as interns.
And Fernando, if I could add, and I know it may not be an internship, but the Seattle Department of Construction and Inspection, that is the department that do have building inspectors who, obviously for new constructions or things like that in the Seattle area, for permitting and things like that, they do have, I don't know how often they may hire internships, but that's another city department that if you're looking at specifically, not street inspection, obviously, but building inspection, the SDCI, the Seattle Department of Construction Inspection, would be another place to, for folks to maybe look up their website for just additional information. But obviously, if they have any internship, it would be posted on the same site that Stephanie had showed earlier.
Great, that's great information. Thank you.
And in fact, this is Lynn. If I can add to that too, even though this particular session is really focused on internship opportunities, now that, you know, everything that everyone has said here, including the website and how the City of Seattle jobs are posted and interview tips and all of that applies to whether you're applying for an internship or a regular job, right? So as you're looking at the City of Seattle website, if you see something there that you feel like you're interested in and eligible for, you can certainly also apply to that. This is not restricted to just applying for internships.
Nazif, I see you have a question. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, yes. Hello, everyone. This is Nazif from Afghanistan. I have a bachelor degree from Afghanistan. Actually, I have a specific question about the eligibility. I applied for to get my master's from University of Washington, and they will let me know if accepted my application by the end of the March. So if accepted, do I still need to apply for college classes, or I will be able to join this internship program or apply for these internships?
Sandra, I think that's for you.
Oh. And I'm sorry, I missed the details on this. I was hoping someone would save me here.
So if somebody is in a master's program, if they're currently enrolled here in the University of Washington in a master's program, that counts. As being
That counts. You are eligible to apply. Yes. Thank you.
Without having to take any additional class, without having to take anything else from Highline. Basically, if you're enrolled at the University of Washington, it would constitute, you know, being a current student.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I guess you have a question. Would you unmute yourself, please?
I have a question. I don't know if if it's okay to ask this or not, but I was applying, and through the process of applying, I see there like the City of Seattle would check our driving history. I don't know how does this relate to this construction field. I mean, if somebody could explain that. I mean, why should they check our driving history? Like, how could this relate to our job, like requirement, like construction field? I don't know.
I'm sorry, that was a City of Seattle job that said they would check on your job history?
Yeah, this same job, like if you go to the job application, they will see like they would see like the job, like the driving history, like so I mean, I don't understand, like why should they, like how does that relate to the job requirements? And so that was a question for me, like because I mean, like they would check like how like a tickets, or like parking tickets, or like speeding tickets.
So
yeah, so I don't know. Like,
that may be a background check that you're referring to?
No, Sandra, I think what Israel is asking about is, you know, there are some city jobs. I don't know, it's less likely that it's an internship, but there are some city jobs where if you do drive a city vehicle a lot for the work, you know, for example, like if you're a project management or construction management, where you may be driving a city car, you know, from place to place, city departments may ask for you to provide a driver's abstract or your driving record, because I think one of the things that we have to also look at is that we want to ensure that if you're going to be driving a city vehicle a lot, that you are a relatively safe driver. We're not asking we have this whole, I won't bore you to death with the scoring system, but you know, we want to make sure that we're not getting someone who, you know, let's say every other day gets into a car accident or a speeding ticket, right? Because there is a liability for the city. Since, again, not to bore you to death, but you know, since we are a self-insured organization, there is a liability to the city if, let's say, for example, we hire someone who has a poor driving record. And so that's the reason why, that's the connection I think you were asking about, is that it's mostly for jobs where there is a lot of driving that's involved. Now, I don't know what the job is that you applied for to obviously be able to answer specifically that question, but I do know that, you know, for depending on the nature of the job, some departments or all departments, depending on the nature of the job, can ask for an abstract just to ensure that they are considering somebody who is a safe driver, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, not all internships require you to drive or require a driver's license, but it will say that on the job posting when they want a driver's license, because once, if you receive an offer, it's like what Dat said, if you receive an offer for an internship and they want a driver's license, it usually means that you're going to be out with a crew, maybe driving. And so then you have to provide us with a driving abstract once you receive the offer, so that everything that Dat said is true, so that they can just see the history, your driving history.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much. And another question, like I heard like from Fernando and like from any other, from all others here, this is like we have like partnership with the Highland College, and the only thing like I heard like it was just like AutoCAD class. AutoCAD is just like a 1 month class, and I think like everybody here already knows AutoCAD. It's like if somebody have like engineering experience, so they already know AutoCAD. So if you want to keep someone like a student in Highland College, I think if there should be like a long period program, something else, so that would be very helpful, like to keep us as a student. Although I'm still studying at Thornton Technical College, but for those like who are not student here, so I mean like AutoCAD would be just a 1 month course. So I don't know if there's other programs in Highland College available that we should know. That would be great.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Absolutely. Highland offers many, many other classes. You can enroll at any class in there. We find if you go through the descriptions of the internships, you find a constant among the different requirements, and that is AutoCAD. You have to be not just knowing AutoCAD, but you have to be proficient. And AutoCAD changes almost every year, every 2 years. So absolutely, if you master AutoCAD already, there are many other resources that you can enroll, other classes that you can enroll. The requirement by the city is enroll in a college level class. So absolutely, browse through the catalog. You are welcome to choose and enroll by the time, and you have to be taking that class by the time when you apply. So right now, that's the time now for the next quarter.
Thank you.
Ehab Bashara, do you have a question?
Yeah, please. Actually, I am an electric engineer from Egypt. I was a managing director of studies for the renewable energy at the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy. It is a post like the undersecretary and involved in many fields. Here, actually, I am currently studying an advanced ESL at Lake Washington Institute of Technology. And next spring, I will join, God willing, the clean energy program at Shoreline Community College, just to update my information and to cope with the challenges here in the States and to be more familiar with the system. So is there any opportunity and any department specifically for the renewable energy and energy efficiency in the city of Seattle that focus on making diversity of energy resources rather depending on 80% of the hydro? So I can search for?
I think that's a Lindsay question.
I think there's a bit. Yeah, I mean, it's not as much what I'm familiar with. I can look into a little bit about it and email you back. I think there's some focus on that, on diversifying the energy sources, but it's you know, I'd have to look into it a little bit more. It's just not my area of expertise, but I'd be glad to email with you about it.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure.
If I just may, Ihab,
Yeah.
Look for two words in Google: Siemens and energy center. There is an amazing center that is taking shape here in the area, where they are looking precisely into innovation. You are probably beyond the internship level. You should apply for jobs directly. So look for that center. They are doing amazing work, including tide and wave energy.
Okay, thank you.
Nazif, do you have a question?
Yes. So if we applied for these internship programs and accepted for these programs and finish it successfully and performs well, for example, City of Seattle Light will accept us as a permanent employee, or is there any opportunity to apply for a permanent job in the City of Seattle Light?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely apply for permanent roles too. And those are separate, but internships don't automatically become permanent.
No, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Saeed, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for your time for preparing this webinar. My question is, can you describe a typical one day for an intern in the city of Seattle for City Light? I just want to know for a typical day for an intern, that person, what should he do, or what's the work environment, in which area he will stay, in the projects or in the office or something like that.
It's so different. Thank you for the question. It's so different for every role. I would say there's a good amount of, you know, a lot of project management type things that are happening, communicating with a supervisor. The nice thing is, you know, every intern has a supervisor, and some have additional mentors that will help on the team to stay connected and supported on the project goals. Some internships might require some travel. I know we talked a little bit about the driving record, and maybe there are different sites where interns might go in addition to working remotely. So it's, you know, it's really a combination of a lot of things, and I feel like it might be a little bit different from role to role. But I think that's actually a really great question for when you're in an interview to ask. When, you know, when you have your time at the end, is to ask your specific question from the manager themselves. I think that's a really great question to ask, because you will have that panel of different employees that work on that team or in the department. And so they can give you a really good idea of what, for that particular role that you're interviewing for, what the day-to-day will look like. And I think that's a really great question that they would want to hear from you as the person being interviewed, is just that you've thought about your own time management and you know what the day is going to look like. So yeah, I would say if there's anything specific, it would usually be in the job description, but I think that it's just going to vary for each opportunity. And I think that's a great question for the team that's part of the interview process.
Okay, are there any other questions? So maybe Sandra and Paige, do you want to talk about kind of next steps and resumes, mock interview practice? that opportunity.
Sandra, do you want to go ahead or do you want me to?
Go ahead, Paige.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so as I mentioned at the beginning, and just a reminder for anybody who might have joined later, our wonderful presenters today have offered to look over resumes for those who are interested in moving forward with applying for the internships. So I'm the one who sent the reminder emails about this and included the Zoom link. So you should all have my email, but I'll put it one more time in the chat. If you want to send me your most updated resume, I will forward it on to our presenters and they will give you feedback for how to improve your resume for the application process.
I see in the chat also that many of you have asked for our City of Seattle speaker panelists contacts. And if you have your participant handout, the Word document, if you looked at the last page on page 16, are all of our names, our departments, and our email addresses as well.
Yeah, if you have our names, pretty much all you have to do is say, Stephanie.Thornton@seattle.gov. It's pretty straightforward.
No guessing games to outreach to us.
No, we're not like private sector. Our emails are public.
Very public.
And feel free to connect on LinkedIn too. It's good practice to just kind of be active on LinkedIn and get to know people that way.
Yeah,
so
that's good to be connected on LinkedIn. So everybody should apply to a website, or like we just share our resume with paging. So what's
So if you send me your resume, I will send it to our presenters and they will give you feedback. I will send it back to you with the feedback. I would suggest that you incorporate the feedback into your resume and then apply directly through the website. If you have questions around cover letter, I'm happy to look over that material as well. But apply directly through the website. Yes.
okay? Good.
And Fernando, did you have information about the session evaluation form as well?
Yes, I do. You are going to receive in the chat right now a link for you to fill up an exit survey. In it, we would like to ask for your comments and your contact information if you wish to be contacted specifically in any of the subjects listed there. On behalf of the City of Seattle, Jewish Family Services, the Welcome Back Center, and all the other organizations that help us promote this event, we thank you very much for your participation. Don't hesitate to apply. That's my suggestion. The AutoCAD class is just the class that we felt is the most practical to offer, but enroll in any class that you feel you need, so you can be eligible for this. But the experience that you have, the maturity, I mean, everything that you're bringing, is desired by this by all of these municipalities. So apply, please.
Thank you.
Haider, did you have a question?
Yes, it's hi everyone, and thank you very much for your time and for this very useful meeting. Just I want to put one point here. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you very much for your efforts. And I want to say, if I send anyone, if he send his resume and you find it overqualified for any job, please don't put this point in your mind, because they need to start. We need to start. Yeah, we need your help. Not for me, I work for more than 20 years in different type of engineering fields. If I write all my experience, maybe I will have very large CV. At the same time, I need just to assist me in the first step here in the United States. That's it. And thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. And I totally agree with you that you should start. It's never too late. And by working an internship is a nice way for you to get started with an organization, to start learning, using those skills or education that you have, to honor that, and to see if this is a good fit for you without the huge commitment.
Yep.
So it's a way to get started to hopefully land you to a regular job with the city is the eventual goal. But internships is a nice, safe place to start to get that going.
Yeah, thank you
And
very much.
I would also echo what Sandra just mentioned by also saying, you know, if you're successful in landing an internship, I think one of the things that we also ask, and this is we ask of all our interns, is obviously be receptive to learning, to feedback, right? And I know that many of you may have a lot of experience previously, and I think that experience, I actually don't look at it as being overqualified. I look at it as that, you know, how do we tap into potentially some additional experience that maybe normally we wouldn't have access to, maybe with somebody who is currently, let's just say, with no work experience. So I think part of it too is that if you're on the job, you know, we also ask of, you know, sort of like I said, being receptive to, you know, whether it be feedback, to learning, because I think one of the things that we hope ultimately will happen is that you can translate some of the experience you've had before to potentially what we do at the city, but also recognizing that what we do at the city also has its own different, you know, procedures, policies, and so on and so forth. And so I think it's really is a two-way street. As much as possible, I think all of us, we do try to work with our managers to, you know, convince them to overlook the overqualification piece, because I look at it as that, you know, anything that you bring extra is an added bonus for the employer. And so, but I also, it's like I said, it's really a, you know, a two-way street with regards to also being receptive to the learning piece of it.
Yes, that's right. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree. Yes, that's it. Yes, thank you very much.
And I would just add to that, Haider, I think that's such a great point, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think it is a difficult situation when you have all this experience, but it is difficult for it to translate here, right? In this new country, and it is, you know, that you know, getting those connections and the networking and all of those things that an internship can provide. So I hope that through this session, you all have learned a little bit more about the city of Seattle and the opportunities and the internships. But then I also hope that, you know, for the folks from the city, that this has been a learning opportunity as well, to sort of, you know, hear from all of our very highly qualified individuals that have skills and talents to share.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I had myself on mute and I'm back here talking and then nobody can hear me. So sorry about that. I was just going to say that's why a cover letter is so important, because that's where you put that information in there. You know, what you were just talking about, you know, having all these great qualifications, and you put that in your cover letter. This is what I'm doing. You know, we've seen interns who are changing careers. So we have interns who run, you know, the spectrum of what they're trying to do, from just out of college to interns who might be a little more mature and changing careers or exploring new careers. So make sure in your cover letter that you just kind of put that. That's why it's so good to have a cover letter, because you put that information in there so people can see, we see what's going on here. It makes it clear for people. And also what that said too, is also about developing those relationships. When you say get that internship, that's when you start doing, you know, continuing to build those connections and the networking, because it doesn't have to end just because your internship ends. You can continue to stay in contact with those people, because you never know what's going to come up down the road.
And one thing, if I could also ask, I think, you know, because I think, you know, we in order to ultimately at some point see how successful, for example, that that this presentation, this program ultimately results in. One thing I could ask is that if you do end up applying to internships at the city, or especially at any one of our 3 departments here, obviously feel free to apply to anything else, but I think it would be, I know, helpful for me. I can't speak for my colleagues, but it would be helpful for me, if you are taking a class at Highline, right, to make sure you have that in your educational section in the application, because we get so many applications, and I understand, degrees that you've earned back home is also important, but I wouldn't want that to be the only thing, because we may overlook that and not realize that, oh, because if we look at an application and it looks like somebody has already graduated and they're no longer in school, then the first thing that's going to come to my mind, again, I can't speak for Lindsay or Matthew, but the first thing that's kind of in my mind is, oh, this person's no longer eligible for an internship because they're not going to school. And so if you are taking, even if it's just that one class, whatever that may be, AutoCAD or anything else, let's make sure you have that on your application. So in a way, you can kind of help us to help you, because if like I can just speak for my department, I play a big role in ensuring which applications move on to the supervisor for potential interviews, right? Because I screen all of them as they come in, and so if you can help me to help you, I can at least, one, if I know that you're going to school, I can at least then get your application, if nothing else, to that hiring manager for a potential interview, for them to review it some more. So if I could ask, obviously folks to do that, because otherwise, if I don't know that you're going to school, I'm just going to automatically, move you into the no file, if you will. And we don't want that either. We want to hopefully have this session be as successful as we can by getting as many of you at least to potentially interview, if not to, to be hired as an intern.
Ditto what Dad said, because that's the same thing for us as CHR. If we're reviewing applications and it looks like you're not in school, we can't move you forward, because that's part of the program's requirement. So let us know that you're in school, you're taking at least one class aligned with the internship.
So I hope everyone identifies the different elements that are present right now. We have the talent. We have the first filter of each of the 3 departments of the city of Seattle. We have the, I will say, probably the best advisor in the county, that's Jeannie Toe, who is an expert in refining and making resumes successful. So take the opportunity, and the Welcome Back Center is also here. So if you are not enrolled in any class, browse through the catalog and enroll right away. We offer the AutoCAD, again, comes to the conversation because we feel that is the most practical, and it doesn't hurt to just get 40 hours of practical online in AutoCAD and possibly Revit and maybe Civil 3D. We are working on that. So just try to identify what elements are present here right now. And it's a great, in my view, a great opportunity. Take it.
Thank you very much. May I mention something? I would like to thank you for this opportunity given to me and my other colleagues here. One question I have, thank you, Fernando, for giving me this opportunity to be present in this seminar. But one question it remains for me still is that, for example, the course AutoCAD is going to be started in few months, but the deadline for your application is the 9th of March. How these two are going to be coordinated with each other?
That's a great question. Literally, as we speak, we are putting together that class. We are going to make it work. When you apply, you are going to be enrolled in the class. So make contact with me if you need to enroll in this particular class or in any other class. The spring quarter is coming, so we are going to make it work. So assume that if that's the only thing that is missing, we'll make it work.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Sure.
Fernando, this is Dat, and just a quick question for you, and I think it's because potentially for all of the participants, is that as soon as they enroll in a class, are they through Highline, are they able to then get an online version of their unofficial transcript to attach to applications, or is there some waiting period that they'll have to wait? Because as I mentioned before, that transcript is the sort of the end all and be all for us, right? And so, is there a way that they have something at least show that they're currently enrolled in a class?
Yes, we will have a way to prove that they are enrolled in the class. Yes.
Is Ginny still on the call?
I think she is.
Sure am.
Can you also introduce yourself and talk about what you do?
Sure. This is Jeannie. Let me put my video back on. Hold on. I got 3 screens going, so it's a little nuts. Hold on. All right.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay, no, I got 3 videos, so they look funny when I have to decide which one I'm using or where it popped up to. So this is Jeannie at King County WorkSource. I work with TRAC Associates. My role is employment and training specialist. So what I do is I teach resume cover letters, how to speak to the specific jobs that you are applying for. Basically what City of Seattle have already shared with you. So it's nice to see that we are speaking the same language. So feel free to reach out to me. I did leave my phone as well as email on the chat box, and Fernando as well as Paige also have the information. Basically, that's it. Whatever you need that has to do with employment or training, we're here to guide you. We are working as a team. So Welcome Back Center, Fernando, Welcome Back Center at Highline College, Paige at JFS, and TRAC Associates. We're actually partner agencies. We work together in working with foreign trained professionals. So yes, we're here, and not just yourself, but refer friends and family so that we could keep our community educated and moving forward professionally.
I'm also here. This is Luli from TRAC Associates.
I am so sorry. So Luli joined TRAC about 3 months ago. So she is my other half.
Thank you.
Any questions, anyone? Okay. And I do highly recommend that when you do get an interview, please reach out to me for 2 reasons. One, to make sure that your at least your connection is ready to go for the following day when you have that interview. You have somebody to test your system with you. And more important than that, or not more important, as important is that you're able to answer the questions at each interview. A lot of the time, because American cultures are so direct at interviews, that when they ask the questions, they want a direct answer. Well, I shouldn't say they, we. When we ask the questions at interviews, we want a direct answer and we want an example, which is really, really different than most other cultures. A lot of the other cultures, it's really impolite, practically rude to be so direct. So this is something that is an ongoing practice, not just for foreign professionals, it's actually for everyone, even people in US. We teach this every day at the WorkSource, and a lot of people are still not used to it.
Yeah, at the city, they call it the STAR method. It's like what they said earlier, situation, what the situation was, the task, what your action was, and what was the result. So whatever project you worked on, if you were a team lead or a team member, what was your role? What was your action? Did you save money? Did you deliver the project on time? They want to hear from the beginning to the end in a story format what you did on that project, whatever that project was. Most of you, sound like you're in engineering, so you can talk about those projects that you worked on. But they do want to hear that. That's a behavioral, what they call behavioral questions.
Yeah, and I want to echo what Ginny and Stephanie just talked about. Is this is the time for us to hear about you. You may have been on a great team, and the team did wonderful stuff, but unfortunately, you know, in most cases, we only have maybe 1, 2, 3 slots that we're hiring, and so we can't hire the entire team. And it really is about you promoting yourself, and to kind of even what Stephanie mentioned is, even on your resume, you know, I know you're going to provide us, you know, you have an opportunity to provide us your resume for input, but even on your resume, what I see a lot, very common, is a lot of people don't talk about certain accomplishments, right? They focus on the day-to-day stuff, which, you know, we recognize that a lot of us have day-to-day type work, but if you, you know, an accomplishment doesn't always have to be about saving your employer money. It could be about, you know, if you went 3 years without a workplace accident, for example, right? Safety records, whatever that may be. Think of those. Those are not little things, because, you know, it shows, whether it be attention to details, it shows that, you know, that these things are you know, they're a huge accomplishment. So kind of think about that too, is in the interview, talk about accomplishments more so than just the, you know, the day-to-day type of things that you work on. But it is really about, in an interview, it's about self-promotion.
Yeah. Also about, you know, your inter and intrapersonal skills, like how you work on a team, and your intrapersonal skills is how you manage your emotions, how you deal with conflict, and on a team, how you resolve problems. So they do look for that.
And just a quick note, I've actually looked at the names on here and went to LinkedIn and see if all of you are on. A lot of people are not on LinkedIn. So please make sure you create a LinkedIn account. On your job history, be a little general. You don't have to be you don't want to be very specific, only because you're applying for different jobs, so that your resume and your application is reflecting each job. If you have any questions with that, please let me know, but at least create something to show some professional histories.
Yeah, recruiters do look at LinkedIn profiles. They look for talent on LinkedIn. So.
I have a question. Can I?
Of course, and who is it for?
For everyone.
Okay.
So thank you, Jenny and Luli, for inviting me for this thing. And thank you for the opportunity. But my question is, I was trying to go through the website, the Seattle City Light. This is not the only option. The one we are talking about is the engineering, and there are other opportunities also. So can we go ahead and then apply if that role is something which I like? For instance, there is one which I see like a database administrator, which I have a qualification for. So is there a way that I can apply?
Short answer is yes.
Yeah, you can apply for any that you're interested in, and yeah, you can apply for any of them. So I think I should just mention that the City Light ones that are up, we just submitted them a little earlier than everybody else. So there probably will still be more positions from other departments across the city that will come up over the next month or so. So I mean, from the impression I get from the other departments, right, is that you probably will have some here and there, but yeah, I agree with Sandra. Yes, just apply for anything that you're interested in and that you feel like, you know, you've got kind of the basic skills and experience. Yeah, if you're interested in it, apply for sure.
Yeah, and there will be a few more internships postings going up in the next couple of weeks, because City Light was just early, like Lindsay said, with their postings this is for internships. But yeah, feel free to apply for anything you feel qualified for. The city has what they call regular positions. They also have temporary positions that are out there. So you have to really look at the job posting to see what you're applying for. So if you think you're applying for something that's, you know, not temporary, and then you find out this is going to end in a couple of years, just make sure you're looking at the job posting so that you understand how long the duration of the job.
Thank you.
And even though we're encouraging you to apply for everything, don't apply for every single job. Be very strategic about what you're applying for and that you really want the job. focus on quality versus quantity. I get quite a few people who tell me, Gina, I applied for 50 jobs last week. Oh my gosh, that's a nightmare. I'd rather that you apply for 2 jobs rather than 50 jobs and actually focus on your skill sets to what the employers are looking for. You're not lying, you're focusing on what they're looking for and that you can show that you have those particular skills.
And as Sandra said at the beginning, look for what you want to do, where do you want to be at? That's very important.
Okay, we are over time. But I think this has been a very robust conversation. I hope that everybody learned something. Please do fill out the survey that Fernando put the link in the chat so that we can learn from your comments, and not to keep deflecting everything to Paige, but Paige will be sending out the recording to everybody that registered. She has everyone's emails. And so on that, maybe you can also just send out all of our emails again. And then remember to send, if you want to have eyes on your resume from a City of Seattle staff, to send your resume to Paige, and she will get those back to Sandra to distribute to folks on this call. Anything else? That was a lot of information. Thank you, everybody. I mean, that was very informative.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah, it was very useful and we learned a lot. And it was the first time I see this kind of event. It was great and I'm appreciated. And thank you all.
All right. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, City of Seattle. Thank you, Paige and Fernando, for putting this together.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Good night, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.